Jasper Reed had 3 rules for surviving diplomatic courier work in the outer systems. Never question what's in the sealed containers. Always keep your translator charged. And for the love of Einstein, read the cultural briefing materials before landing. He'd broken the 3rd rule spectacularly, the Festival of Lumina on Voltoria. Prime was supposed to be straightforward, deliver a treaty document to the Earth consulate. Enjoy some local cuisine, maybe sketch a few landscapes for his private collection. The Voltorians were humanoid, enough that cultural barriers seemed minimal. Sure, their skin held an opalescent shimmer that shifted colors with their emotions. And their eyes were too large and luminous to be human, but they were friendly, sophisticated. And their capital city of Heliara was breathtaking. The architecture alone was worth the 3-week journey. Spires of living crystal grew organically from the ground, pulsing with soft light that responded to the bioelectric fields of passers-by. Gardens floated on platforms of solidified energy, connected by bridges that materialized only when someone approached. Jasper's fingers itched to capture it all in charcoal and ink, which was how he ended up in the Garden of Inner Reflection with his sketchbook. Completely unaware it was forbidden to outsiders during festival hours. The garden was quieter than the bustling streets below, filled with pools that seemed to hold captured starlight. Jasper found a secluded alcove where crystalline flowers grew in impossible spirals, and lost himself in the meditative act of drawing. His hand moved across the page, translating 3-dimensional beauty into lines and shadow. He didn't hear the water stirring behind him until a voice, melodic and sharp, cut through his concentration. "You dare?" Jasper turned, and his sketchbook tumbled from his hands. The woman rising from the luminescent pool was Valtorian, her skin cycling rapidly through colors he'd never seen: silver to violet to deep crimson. She was tall, as most Valtorians were, with elaborate patterns etched into her shoulders and arms that glowed with inner light. Her hair, if it could be called that, moved like living silk in shades of midnight blue. And she was very clearly in the middle of some kind of ritual bath, wearing only the light itself. "Oh God, I'm sorry." Jasper spun around so fast he nearly fell into his own fountain. "I didn't know anyone was here. I'll leave immediately." "You will stay exactly where you are, human." The authority in her voice froze him in place. "Do you understand what you have witnessed? An extremely private moment that I absolutely did not mean to intrude upon." Jasper kept his back turned, his face burning with embarrassment. "I swear I'm just a courier. I was drawing the flowers. I had no idea this garden was restricted." Water splashed as she emerged from the pool. Jasper heard the rustle of fabric being drawn around her body. "You may turn around, slowly." He obeyed, keeping his eyes respectfully lowered. She now wore a flowing garment. It seemed woven from liquid moonlight, but her skin still pulsed with agitated colors: crimson, gold, sharp flashes of white. "Look at me," she commanded. Jasper raised his eyes and immediately understood this was no ordinary Valtorian. The patterns on her skin were too intricate, too precise. They marked her as nobility, possibly high nobility. Her eyes, luminous amber flecked with silver, held the kind of authority that came from generations of leadership. "I am Nithara of House Meridian, 3rd in line to the celestial throne of Voltoria." Her voice was cold, controlled. "And you have violated the sanctuary of inner reflection during the sacred hour of vulnerability." "I genuinely apologize," Jasper said, trying to keep his voice steady. "This is my first time on Voltoria. I didn't receive proper briefings about restricted areas. If there's a fine or formal apology I need to make." "A fine?" Something that might have been bitter amusement flickered across her face. "Human, you have witnessed a royal daughter in the state of absolute openness, when our defenses are lowered and our true essence exposed. According to the ancient laws of Voltoria, there are only 2 responses to such a violation: Jasper's throat went dry. Which are? Exile to the outer wastes, where you will survive perhaps 3 days without proper equipment. She stepped closer, and he could see tiny sparks of energy dancing across her skin. Or the quantum entanglement protocol. The what now? A soul bond, she said flatly. You become bound to me through the ancient rituals, our energy signatures permanently intertwined. What I feel, you feel. Where I go, you follow. For life, Jasper's mind raced. There has to be a third option. A diplomatic waiver, maybe. I work for Earth Alliance. Your alliance means nothing to our sacred laws. Ithara's skin flashed bright crimson. I did not choose this any more than you did. But the law is absolute. Choose now. Exile or bonding. Can I at least know why these are the only options? She was silent for a moment, and her color shifted to something softer, more complex azure mixed with silver. Because you have seen me without my shields. In Valtorian culture, that level of vulnerability can only exist between bondmates or in solitude. To witness it and walk away is to carry dangerous knowledge of another's true essence. It has been used for psychological warfare in the past. I'm a courier and amateur artist, not a spy, Jasper protested. I couldn't use psychological warfare if my life depended on it. Your intentions are irrelevant. The law exists to protect us all. She studied him with those unsettling, beautiful eyes. You have 1 minute to decide. Jasper looked down at his sketchbook, lying open where it had fallen. The drawing of the crystalline flowers was half finished, just like his life seemed to be. At 32, he'd been drifting from assignment to assignment, never quite connecting with anyone, always moving on before things got complicated. The irony wasn't lost on him that he was about to get very, very complicated. If I choose exile, I definitely die. Within days. The outer wastes are toxic to humans. And if I choose this bonding thing, what exactly does it entail? 3 rituals over 3 days. If you survive them all, we become permanently entangled. Our life forces connected. Her expression remained unreadable. You would have to remain on Naltoria. Learn our ways. Become part of my household. And if I don't survive the rituals? Then you die, but at least with honor rather than as an exile. She tilted her head. Time is up, Jasper Reed. What is your choice? His name on her lips startled him. She must have accessed his identification while he wasn't paying attention. There was something else, too. Something in the way her colors had shifted to that complex azure and silver. She didn't want this either, but she was bound by her own laws. I choose the bonding, Jasper said quietly. For just a moment, her colors flickered to something that might have been relief before settling back into formal silver white. Then you are no longer simply a courier. You are a candidate for House Meridian, and your fate is bound to mine. She raised her hand, and her palm began to glow. Place your hand against mine. The first mark must be made now. Jasper hesitated only a second before pressing his palm to hers. The sensation was immediate and overwhelming warmth, electricity, and something deeper, like hearing music he'd never noticed was playing. Light flowed from her hand into his, and he watched in amazement as patterns began to trace themselves across his skin, glowing faintly blue. The mark of candidacy, Ithara said softly. All will know you are under my protection now, and all will judge whether you are worthy of House Meridian. As the light faded, Jasper looked at the delicate patterns now etched into his palm and wrist. They were beautiful and terrifying, in equal measure proof that his life had just changed irrevocably. What happens now? He asked. Ithara's expression remained carefully neutral, though her colors betrayed hints of uncertainty pale green threading through the silver. Now you come with me to the Crystal Palace. My family must be informed. And you must be prepared for the first ritual, which is the unveiling of memories. She turned toward the garden exit, expecting him to follow. I had to show you my vulnerable state without choice. Now you must show me yours. Every memory, every secret, every buried truth will be laid bare between us. Jasper's stomach dropped. Every memory? Every one. She glanced back at him, and for the first time, something almost sympathetic crossed her features. I did not wish to know your secrets, Jasper read, just as you did not wish to intrude upon my sanctuary. But the path is set now. We are both prisoners of circumstance. As he followed her through the crystalline pathways, his sketchbook clutched forgotten in his hand, Jasper wondered what secrets his own memories might reveal, and whether Nithara of House Meridian would still want him bound to her once she saw the truth of who he really was. Behind them, hidden in the shadows of the garden, a figure watched their departure with calculating interest. Voranthal of the court smiled coldly as he recorded the scene on his personal device. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. The crystal palace of House Meridian rose from the heart of Heliara like a frozen symphony. Unlike the organic spires that grew throughout the city, the palace had been crafted over centuries by master artisans, each generation adding new chambers and corridors. The result was a maze of beauty galleries, where light refracted into dancing rainbows, meditation chambers with acoustics that turned whispers into music, and halls lined with the portraits of ancestors, whose opalescent faces seemed to watch with knowing eyes. Jasper followed Nithara through corridors that shifted from cool blues to warm ambers depending on the time of day. Servants and courtiers paused in their tasks to stare at him, their skin colors betraying their shock. The glowing marks on his hand and wrist marked him as something unprecedented, a human candidate for bonding with a member of the royal family. They're all staring, Jasper murmured. They have never seen an outsider bear the mark of candidacy, Nithara replied without looking back. In 3,000 years of recorded history, every bond has been between Valtorians. You are an anomaly. That's comforting. She glanced over her shoulder, and he caught a flicker of amusement in her colors, pale yellow threading through the silver. If you sought comfort, you should have chosen exile. They arrived at a set of massive doors carved from a single piece of amber crystal. 2 guards flanked the entrance, their ceremonial armor glowing with protective energy fields. At Nithara's approach, they crossed their staffs. The Council of Elders convenes within, one guard said formally. They have demanded audience with the candidate before the first ritual. Nithara's colors flashed crimson for just a moment before settling back to controlled silver. Of course they have. Allow us entry. The doors swung open to reveal a circular chamber where 5 elderly Valtorians sat in elevated seats arranged in a semicircle. Their skin had faded to pale luminescence with age, but the intricate patterns covering their bodies glowed with accumulated wisdom and power. At their center sat someone younger, a Valtorian male who appeared close to Nithara's age, his patterns less elaborate, but still marking him as nobility. Sister, the young male said, rising from his seat. His colors were warm gold and gentle orange. When I heard the news, I didn't believe it. You, bound by accident to an outsider? Kelris, Nithara acknowledged with a slight inclination of her head. I did not expect the council to summon you from your studies. How could I miss this? Kelris approached Jasper with open curiosity, circling him like he was examining a rare specimen. A human. Fascinating. I've read 17 papers on human psychology and cultural development, but I've never actually met one. Jasper Reed. Jasper introduced himself, extending his marked hand. Currently transitioning from courier to whatever the situation makes me. Kelris clasped his hand with enthusiasm, his skin flashing bright yellow, apparently a sign of excitement. The patterns on your skin are already adapting to your bioelectric field. Remarkable. The bonding marks. usually take days to integrate with Valtorian physiology. But you, Kelris, one of the elders interrupted, her voice carrying the weight of authority. This is not a scholarly exercise. We are here to determine if this human is suitable for the quantum entanglement protocol with a daughter of House Meridian. The warmth drained from Kelris's colors, replaced by more formal silver blue. He stepped back to his seat, the eldest of the council. A woman whose patterns had faded to the faintest glow fixed her luminous gaze on Jasper. I am Matriarch Celine, voice of the ancestors. What skills do you possess that would make you worthy of our house, human? Jasper felt like he was back in university, defending his thesis to a particularly brutal committee. I have diplomatic training, fluency in 7 languages, and advanced crisis negotiation certifications from Earth Alliance Academy. We have thousands with such skills. Another elder interrupted. What makes you unique? He hesitated. What did make him unique? His career was respectable, but unremarkable. His personal life was a series of brief connections and long solitudes. He'd never married, never stayed anywhere long enough to plant roots. The only thing he'd ever truly committed to was, he's an artist, Nithara said quietly. All eyes turned to her. I saw his work in the garden, she continued, and Jasper noticed her colors shifting to something he couldn't quite read, soft violet with threads of silver. The drawing was incomplete, but even unfinished, it captured something essential about the crystalline flowers. Not just their structure, but their dot spirit. Art is pleasant, but hardly essential, Matriarch Celine said dismissively. Among Valtorians, perhaps. Nithara's voice took on an edge. But humans express their deepest truths through artistic creation. Is that not what the unveiling of memories seeks? To understand the essential truth of a candidate? Jasper stared at her, surprised she was defending him. Kelris leaned forward, his colors brightening with interest again. Sister makes a valid point. The ancient texts say the first ritual reveals the soul through shared experience. If art is how humans process their inner world, then his memories may offer unique insight. Matriarch Celine was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. Very well. The first ritual will proceed at sunset. Nithara of House Meridian, you understand the risks? If the quantum entanglement fails during memory sharing, both your minds could fracture. I understand, Nithara said calmly. And you, human? The matriarch's gaze pierced through Jasper. Are you prepared to have every secret exposed? Every shame, every hidden desire, every moment you've buried deep? Jasper's mouth went dry. His past wasn't horrible, but it was messy failed relationships, family disappointments, the constant feeling of not quite fitting anywhere. Did he really want a near stranger, especially alien royalty, to see all of that? Then he looked at Nithara, standing straight and formal, and remembered how her colors had flickered with relief when he chose bonding over exile. She didn't want this either, but she was facing it with courage. I'm ready, he said. Then prepare yourselves, Matriarch Celine declared. Kelris, you will serve as the witness. Ensure the memory streams remain balanced. As the council dismissed them, Kelris approached with barely contained excitement. This is unprecedented. A human consciousness interfacing with Valtorian quantum neural pathways. The data alone will be invaluable. My life is a science experiment, Jasper muttered. Kelris, Nithara said firmly. Remember that we are people, not research subjects. Her brother's colors flickered with chagrin, a muddy orange. Of course. Forgive me. I sometimes forget that not everyone finds consciousness studies as thrilling as I do. He brightened again. But truly, Jasper, this is a gift. Few Valtorians ever experience the unveiling with someone from another species. You'll understand each other in ways that words could never convey. Or we'll both end up with fractured minds, Jasper pointed out. There is that possibility, Kelris admitted cheerfully. But statistically, It's only about 12%. 12%? Among Valtorians. We have no data on humans, so really, it could be anywhere from 0 to 100%. Nethara placed a hand on her brother's shoulder, gently steering him away. You're not helping. As Kelrus wandered off, still muttering about quantum neural pathways, Nethara turned to Jasper. For the first time since the garden, they were relatively alone in one of the palace's smaller antechambers. I apologize for my brother, she said. He means well, but his enthusiasm for knowledge sometimes overrides his social awareness. He seems nice, Jasper said. Excited about things. It's actually kind of refreshing. Nethara's colors shifted to something warmer soft amber with hints of rose. He is the kindest member of our family. Perhaps the kindest person I know. She paused, her luminous eyes studying him. Why did you really choose bonding, Jasper Reed? The truth this time. He could have deflected, made a joke, but something about the way she asked, the way her colors had softened, made him answer honestly. Because I've spent my whole life running. New assignment, new planet, new faces. I never let anything get complicated. But maybe, he looked down at the glowing marks on his hand. Maybe it's time I stopped running from complicated things. She was quiet for a moment, and her colors cycled through patterns he was beginning to recognize as deep-thought blues and greens mixing with silver. I have never run from anything, she said finally. I was born into responsibility. Every choice I make affects not just me, but my house, my people. I have always done what duty required. Sounds lonely, Jasper said softly. Her colors flashed surprise, he thought, mixed with something vulnerable. Yes, she admitted. It is. Before either could say more, a servant appeared, bowing deeply. The chamber of unveiling has been prepared. The ritual will begin in 1 hour. As they were led through the palace to separate preparation rooms, Jasper felt the weight of what was coming. In 1 hour, Nethara would see everything his awkward childhood as the quiet kid who drew instead of playing sports. His mother's disappointment when he chose diplomatic service over the family medical practice. The engagement he'd broken off because he couldn't imagine staying in one place forever. The art portfolio he'd never had the courage to show anyone. Would she understand? Or would she see him as just another lost human, drifting through life without anchor or purpose? The preparation room was small and intimate, lit by crystals that pulsed with a gentle, calming rhythm. A female Valtorian attendant helped him change into ceremonial robes simple but elegant, woven with threads that seemed to capture and hold light. First time? She asked kindly, her colors warm orange. Is it that obvious? You have the look of someone about to jump off a cliff. She smiled, and he was struck by how human the expression seemed, despite her alien features. The unveiling is frightening, yes, but it is also beautiful. To be truly known by another, there is no greater intimacy. What if she doesn't like what she sees? The attendant's colors shifted to thoughtful purple. Then you will know that too, and you can face that truth together. She finished adjusting his robes and stepped back. You are ready. The witness will come for you soon. Alone in the room, Jasper sat on a cushioned bench and tried to calm his racing heart. He'd faced hostile negotiations, survived a shuttle crash on a remote moon, once talked down an armed militant who'd taken hostages at an embassy. But none of that compared to the vulnerability of having someone see inside his mind. A knock at the door announced Kelrus's arrival. The young scholar had changed into formal robes marked with complex geometric patterns that glowed softly. It's time, he said gently. Are you ready? No, Jasper admitted, but I don't think that changes anything. Kelrus's colors flickered with sympathy. My sister is nervous too, if that helps. I saw her before coming here. Her colors were cycling through patterns I haven't seen since we were children. Somehow, that did help. What do I need to know about the ritual? You'll both be placed in a quantum field that allows consciousness to bridge. Your memories will flow between you, not all at once, but in streams. Some memories will be stronger than others. Kelrus led him through corridors that grew progressively quieter. As the witness, I'll monitor the field and ensure neither of you becomes lost in the stream. If anything goes wrong, I'll sever the connection. And the 12% chance of mental fracture occurs when someone resists the stream too forcefully, or when consciousness patterns are fundamentally incompatible. Kelrus glanced at him. But the bonding marks have already begun integrating with your bioelectric field. That's a promising sign. They arrived at a chamber that took Jasper's breath away. It was perfectly spherical, with walls of clear crystal that seemed to open onto the stars themselves. In the center, 2 platforms floated in mid-air, facing each other. Between them, a field of shimmering energy pulsed with rainbow colors. Nithara was already there, standing on one platform. She'd changed into robes similar to his, and her skin glowed with what he was learning to recognize as nervous energy rapid shifts between silver and pale blue. Jasper Reed, Kelrus said formally, his casual demeanor replaced by ceremonial gravity. Please take your place. Jasper stepped onto the second platform. It held his weight effortlessly, some kind of anti-gravity technology he didn't understand. He was now face to face with Nithara, close enough to see the intricate details of the patterns on her skin, the way they pulsed in time with her heartbeat. Once I activate the quantum field, Kelrus said from his position at the chamber's edge, you will both enter a shared consciousness state. Remember, do not resist what you see, and do not fear what you reveal. The truth cannot harm you if you accept it. He raised his hands, and the energy field between them intensified, expanding until it enveloped both platforms. Jasper's last clear thought before the world dissolved into light was of Nithara's eyes luminous, afraid and somehow hopeful all at once. Then he was falling through memory. He's 7 years old, hiding under his bed with a flashlight and a sketchbook, drawing dragons while his parents argued downstairs about money, about responsibility, about whether they made a mistake leaving Earth for the colony worlds. He's 23, sitting in a cafe with Elena, the woman he thought he'd marry, watching her face crumple as he explains he's taking an assignment to the Outer Rim. He needs to see what's out there. He's not ready to settle down. He's 17, standing in front of his art portfolio at the regional exhibition, watching people walk past without stopping, feeling the weight of being mediocre at the one thing he loves. But mixed with his memories were flashes of others, a young Valtorian girl standing perfectly still while intricate patterns are etched into her skin. The pain excruciating, but she doesn't cry because princesses don't cry. The same girl. Older now, watching her sister ascend to a higher role while she remains third in line. Forever caught between importance and irrelevance. Nithara in the garden, alone in the sacred pool, wondering if she ever know what it's like to make a choice just for herself. Not for duty, not for house, just for her. The memories swirled and merged. Jasper felt Nithara's lifetime of loneliness, the weight of being seen as a duty rather than a person. And he felt her experiencing his memories, the constant moving, the fear of commitment, the art he'd hidden away because he couldn't bear to have it judged and found wanting. Then something shifted. A memory surfaced that Jasper had almost forgotten. He's 12 years old, at the colony's community center, teaching a younger child how to draw. The child's face lights up as she creates her first recognizable picture. And Jasper feels something warm bloom in his chest. Purpose, connection, the joy of helping someone else see the world differently through the quantum link. He felt Nithara's response, understanding, recognition. Her colors, visible even in the memory stream, shifted to gold and rose. More memories flowed. Not just painful ones, but beautiful moments too. Sunsets on different worlds. The satisfaction of successful negotiations. The quiet joy of a perfect sketch. And from Naithara, the pride of mastering a difficult skill, the love she felt for her brother, the rare moments of laughter with trusted friends. The stream began to slow, settle. Jasper became aware of his body again, standing on the platform. Naithara was crying luminescent tears, tracking down her opalescent skin, but her colors were the warmest he'd seen. Gold, rose, amber, all swirling together. "I see you," she whispered. "I see you, Jasper Reed." "I see you too," he replied, his own vision blurry with tears. He understood her now, the loneliness of duty, the strength it took to keep choosing responsibility over desire, the fear that she'd never be truly known, beyond her title and role. And she understood him, the fear of commitment, not because he didn't want connection, but because he'd never believed he was enough for anyone to stay for. Kelris's voice broke through gently. "The stream is complete. The first ritual is finished." The quantum field faded, and suddenly Jasper could move again. Without thinking, he stepped forward, and so did Naithara. They met in the space between platforms, which somehow held them both, and her hands found his dot. Her skin was warm, electric. Her colors pulsed in patterns he now understood: relief, joy, and something deeper. Something that might have been hope. "You are worthy," she said softly. "More worthy than you know." "So are you," he replied. "You're not just duty and responsibility. You're so much more." Behind them, Kelris quietly recorded the data while trying to ignore the fact that his eyes were suspiciously wet. This was more than a successful ritual. This was something unprecedented, a bond, forming not from compatibility alone, but from genuine understanding and recognition. As Jasper and Naithara stood together in the chamber of stars, hands clasped and patterns glowing in synchrony, neither noticed the shadow watching from beyond the crystal walls. Vorenthal observed the scene with cold calculation. The first ritual had succeeded. The human had passed. But there were still 2 more trials, and Vorenthal had not spent months planning for his scheme to fail. Now, by the time the 3rd ritual began, both the human and Naithara would understand the true cost of their impossible bond.